In this video, we're going to discuss Milsurp rifles that have been converted to the 7.62 NATO. But first, hit the like button and subscribe and help my algorithms get better. Okay, if you would please, thank you. Well, over time, we've seen where a lot of older bolt-action military rifles were repurposed, rebarreled to use the next cartridge that was standard, which throughout most of Europe was the 7.62 NATO cartridge. Now I have 4 different rifles that started off in life as an older style gun and then were rebarreled, reworked to use 7.62 NATO, either for training or as a stopgap method until production caught up and the Army's regular rifles can all be replaced. Okay, that does take time. And the pros and cons. Well, as we look at these guns, a little bit unique in collecting Milsurp, you know, they are something you should have in your collection, but they were not actually designed and issued as the standard frontline rifle. They were usually either used for training or secondary purposes. Alright, so I got 4 different ones, and what I believe I'm going to do is I'm going to just go over them in general, and then we're going to discuss in a separate video, so this will be a series of what I've found from other people actually using them. Not so much the history or all that other stuff. There's a lot of fine videos out there that go into detail and describe all this and take them apart and everything else. I'm going to talk about the practical use of them, shooting them, and if they're safe or not, because there's been a lot of discussion. A lot of people believe that these older guns, the cartridges they used there were not to the same higher pressure as a 7.62 NATO. So when you go to any forums and any discussions, you'll see a lot of controversy, and a lot of people, when they bring this up in their videos, will give you this roundabout stuff. It's kind of a, well, yeah, that's one side of the theory and the point. Maybe it's not safe, but then again, the other side says, yes, it is safe, and so leave it up to yourself. And a lot of this, too, is because you have to watch what you say in a video. You don't want to advise somebody to do something that's unsafe, and you don't want to get caught up in a controversy or, you know. And I've heard all the arguments. I'll talk about that with each individual gun. But my personal opinion really is I do not believe anyone made any of these guns that couldn't handle a standard NATO 7.62 NATO round safely. Okay, none of them. I don't believe any country would have a weapon lying around, and you know, some of the argument is they use a different type of ammo in it or something. They wouldn't do it. Okay? And these guns, I believe personally, okay, and we're going to go out and I'm going to shoot them. They can handle it, and I don't believe there's a problem with it. I've never, you know, like somebody said, you never heard of somebody having an accident using standard ammunition. Okay? And there's other people that argue that that's not the case. But anyway, we're going to go through, and I'm also going to discuss, I've watched several videos because I'm still locked out of my range for another month, so I can't go out and shoot these. I'm going to watch some videos and discuss some things about the functioning of these weapons. There's something, because being modified and converted also leads to maybe some mechanical problems which are inherent to the design. Also, if you really, and I'm not here to win an argument or nothing, but if you still, like I said, in my opinion, I believe they're safe, but there are a lot of people that believe that they're not. I will discuss things you can do with reduced loads, which should alleviate your problems. Now, reduced loads is tricky, okay, but I'll get more into that later. And also, I will go over that, but that's going to be members' videos with the load data and everything, and why members' videos, and you have to pay, because I found out when people even have to pay a small amount of money, it eliminates a lot of the people that don't pay attention and could lead to liability issues because they don't understand. It can be done, but there's more to it, and it's a very touchy business. So let's take a look at what I've accumulated here and what we're going to be working with. Alright, the first two that I have is an FR7 and an FR8. The FR7 is the one that gets the most controversy over this. And the reason is these two guns are really popular and sought after because they're used to train on the set-me-see, and they have this real interesting, somewhat more modern barrel system and sights. These guns were made to train soldiers how to use the set-me-sights, okay? And a lot of people say this older 93 action is not as strong as this more modern 1940s 98 action, which was an 8mm. Again, we'll discuss that as we go. Now, one interesting thing about these two rifles, which make them different from the others, I do have headspace gauges, both for commercial 308 Winchester, which is two separate gauges, and for 7.62 NATO. I did a video explaining that. Both of these guns headspace to 7.62 NATO, okay? And that's going to be important because I found that they headspace different, and I'll explain why when I go into detail with the video about the gun. So I got two of them, and I was asked which one do I like better, the FR7, the FR8. I have not gotten a chance to shoot the FR7 yet because my range has been closed for a month and a half. It's going to be 2 months, so I haven't been able to get out range time, check out my chronograph, check out the ammo, but a lot of work to be done with all of these firearms. So these are two of them. And like I said, I'll make an individual video and discuss the issues. Alright, next up is another Spanish rifle. There were a lot of these imported into the country at one time. This is, I guess, a 1916 short rifle. And a bunch of these came in, and they were converted to 7.62. Okay, and this one has the Civil Guard crest on it. Now this is basically just another 93 action, okay, and a lot of people, again, not so much with this one, okay, this one came in and you don't find people carrying on about it not being safe as much as the FR7, okay, so, that right there, that tells you, I don't believe that these guns are unsafe to fire with standard ball ammo, okay? And surprisingly, with this particular gun, when I headspaced it, it would barely close on the 308 Win no-go, and it would not take minimum 7.62 NATO. So this rifle has been chambered and headspaced more for the commercial 308 Winchester. Now I may have a line on a second one, and I'll see if I can get it, and then we'll double check the headspace. That's kind of, you know, people go, why do you have more than one gun? Well, when I'm doing a technical inspection, it's nice to have multiple examples to make sure when I make a statement and say the chambers are made a certain way, that they are. Okay? So that's another one. And last but not least, we have our Indian, I think is Singapore rifle, also in 7.62 NATO. Again, this was another stopgap measure. And this rifle has, you know, and the thing about it, this wasn't converted. This actually has a new receiver and barrel to handle the pressure. So that part of it has kind of been eliminated, but the way the locking system works, and from what I've heard, some people firing these guns, the bolt will stick, because that's your only locking lug, is that bar right there. There are no locking lugs on the end of the bolt, as you can see here. And also, this gun was originally designed, the 303 British is a rimmed cartridge. And when I head spaced this gun is head spaced for 308 Win. So this has a tighter chamber than the other guns. And I believe the reason is because that is just a standard Lee Enfield bolt in there, but with a modified extractor. Is the reason this chamber is so tight is this gun head spaces off the shoulder of the cartridge. Okay, so this is the tightest one, and this is chambered, you know, with the go gauges for 308 Win, which is a lot tighter than the NATO specs. The NATO gauges will not close on this chamber, and I think that has to do with the way, you know, head spaces. That's why it's tight. So this one's a tad bit different. And like I said, I've heard some people discuss that when they fire it, and there was an article online done by one of the gun magazines that firing full house loads in this will end up with the bolt sticking. That even though it is a new receiver and a new barrel, that there are issues with it, you know. So we'll discuss that when we do the video on this. And this is another candidate for our reduced loads. I will work on that project so we can test it out in these weapons and see if how it functions and how it works. So that's our 4 different types of rifles that I'm going to do some shooting in at, and also discuss alternatives for those of you that do have fears about the pressure levels and the durability of these firearms. Also, another end of it is with the high cost of powder and that, if you can go with a reduced load and use less powder, and you know, I shoot these things 200 yards the farthest I'm ever going to shoot any of these guns, okay? And it's just paper. So if I can get something accurate that's usable and uses less powder, it's more economical, because honestly right now ammunition is $1 to $1.25 a round for these guns. It's like PA gun guy was testing out his set me C and some other gun, like he said he burned up 2C worth of ammo, you know, just sighting them in. So, you know, it's they're nice guns, they're fun to shoot, but nowadays the cost of ammo and that, and especially when you're sighting in, testing, getting used to the gun, could become costly. So that's what we're going to do. So stay tuned, and I'll get some more videos up here shortly.